What happens when real access, not just applause, becomes the standard? What does it take to move past feel-good stories and actually build spaces, products, and communities that work for everyone? That's where we're headed today on Disability Deep Dive. Hello, listeners. Welcome back. I'm Keith.
And I'm Jodi, and this is Disability Deep Dive.
Today's episode is Access, Not Applause, Sarah Todd Hammer on Moving Beyond Inspiration. Sarah Todd is an author, speaker, and consultant whose work challenges how we think about disability, independence, and design on the page, in fashion, and online.
We talk about her journey with acute flaccid myelitis, how she's navigated the move from home to independent living, and what practical access looks like for people with disabilities and companies alike.
You'll hear why she pushes back on, quote, inspiration tropes, how everyday tools and choices matter, and what actually opens doors for people with disabilities.
And after the interview, stick around for our deep cut. This week, we're talking about Catwalk, From Glada Hudik to New York, a documentary that puts access and self-expression center stage.
Let's get started.
Hello, and welcome to Disability Deep Dive, Sarah Todd. Let's start at the beginning. For listeners meeting you for the first time, how do you like to introduce yourself and your work?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. My name's Sarah Todd Hammer. I go by Sarah Todd as a double name or ST as a nickname. I'm named after my dad, very common thing in the South to have a double name where I'm from.
Yep.
From Atlanta, and I'm 23. I've had a physical disability since I was 8 years old, so a large part of my life, and disability advocacy is also a great part of my life and my greatest passion. So I'm really excited to be here.
That's great. We're so happy to have you.
Absolutely.
The disability that you mentioned is called Acute Flaccid Myelitis, or AFM. So I guess a good way to start here is maybe in as simple way as you can say it, in as plain language as you can. Can you share like what that is and sort of what it means for your daily routine and needs?
Yeah, I'll give my disability story in as short a form as I can, because it is kind of a long one. So I mentioned that everything happened when I was 8 years old. So I was not born with a disability. I was in second grade and everything happened to me. I'd gone to school like normal, and I was an avid dancer. So I loved ballet. That was my thing. And I'd gone to my ballet class after school. We were trying on our recital costumes, so I was super excited. I was dancing around the room with my friend, and then I all of a sudden got a really excruciating head and neck ache out of nowhere. So we paused, and my mom came into the studio, and we decided I was just going to go home and rest because it was so bad to the point that I was crying and couldn't continue class. But on the way out of the dance studio, I sat down on a bench to kind of adjust my tights and get my things ready, and my arms and hands just stopped working out of nowhere. So obviously I told my mom, and we were like, we're not going home at this point. We were really far from a hospital, so we went to an urgent care that was really close. And by the time we got to the urgent care, I got out of the car and my legs were no longer able to hold me up to walk, but I could still move them. So they like collapsed under me. My mom carried me inside, obviously distraught, and they decided to fly me via helicopter to the hospital. So I get to the emergency room. I was in the emergency room for 6 hours and was sent home after the 6 hours. Which is absolutely
without being seen, or
wild.
you were seen by someone, or you waited 6 hours and then left?
I was seen by a doctor. He gave me Motrin for my head and neck pain, which we did not need the ER for.
Talk about missing the point. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Sure. He talked with my parents because my dad at this point had arrived as well. He talked with them for hours. My parents, especially my mom, were asking him to run tests, asking him if I had like a brain tumor, if I'd had a stroke, if I had MS. And he refused to run tests and kept saying I didn't have any of those diagnoses. And he told my parents that if I wasn't significantly better in the morning to bring me back, because by the time he essentially kicked me out of the ER, it was maybe like 11 p.m. Late at night. And I remember my parents had to ask for a wheelchair for us to be able to leave.
Wow.
They didn't even bring us a wheelchair. And I couldn't walk. And so I'd been seeing a pediatrician my whole life. He was there the day I was born. We loved him so much. So my mom had later, as I got older, shared with me that she had it in her head that she thought I had a brain tumor or something like that. And she was going to take me to see him first thing in the morning because she knew he would get everything done.
Yeah.
But we go home. She slept with me that night to keep an eye on me. I doubt that she actually slept.
Sure.
And I remember waking up in the morning, and I, as an 8-year-old, was so excited because I had taken the doctor's words to mean that everything would be okay in the morning, because he was like, if she's not better, bring her back.
Yeah.
So I woke up and I was like, oh, it's going to be okay. And then my legs were no longer working either. So I was completely paralyzed from the neck down within this matter of hours. So my parents called an ambulance. We went back to the same hospital, and thankfully I was seen by a really good doctor that day. He did all the appropriate testing, MRI, lumbar puncture, all those things. And my MRI showed I had spinal cord damage from C2 to T1.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And I was diagnosed that day with transverse myelitis, or TM. It's similar to AFM. So I was re-diagnosed with AFM in 2018, so 8 years later.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
AFM in 2010 was not named. It was clearly a thing, but it didn't have a name.
Sure.
Okay.
So I was diagnosed with TM because it's similar, but they're different enough that diagnosis difference matters. So I was not in a car accident. It was not because of dancing. I just happened to be at ballet when it happened. That was just a coincidence. So this just happened. But AFM it's a neuroimmunological disorder that's caused by a virus attacking the spinal cord. So I wasn't sick. I didn't have symptoms of being sick. A lot of kids with AFM do. Honestly, most of them do. So they think I had probably an asymptomatic version of this virus, which is essentially a cold virus that does this. And just for some reason, in kids who have a cold or have some type of illness, the virus sometimes weaves its way into the spinal cord and damages the spinal cord. So that is what happened in the beginning. There's a lot more I can share about, how we got to where I am today. But yeah, that's the initial story. And I stayed in the hospital for 2 months, did plasmapheresis treatment in the ICU, which is what really helped me gain the movement back in my legs.
Okay.
So while I was in the hospital, did that and did inpatient rehab for 5 weeks of my hospital stay, and was able to regain some of my arm and hand movement, but not much. So I was able to walk out of the hospital with minimal assistance. Once I left the hospital, I didn't use a wheelchair or walker or cane ever again.
Okay.
But I have been left with partial paralysis in my arms and hands. So my left hand doesn't move at all. My right hand does, but it's super weak, and I can't lift my shoulders up very high. So I have a very unusual disability, but that's what happened initially, and I can leave it for later to share more about how we got to where we are today. But
Sure.
Yeah.
It's an incredible story.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, loaded story.
Yeah.
I've been watching you on TikTok for a number of years. And I saw your film Pressing Buttons, and it spotlights the transition from living at home to independent living. What support tools make the biggest difference for teens and young adults making that transition?
Oh, I love that you watched my short film. Thank you. That means a lot. I'm super proud of that film.
It's wonderful.
And thank you. I would say it's interesting because I've had to work really hard to find different ways to do tasks for myself, whether that be finding a way to do something myself, like getting dressed. I put my right elbow on a surface so that I can lean over and get things over my head. or I rely on people for things. So it's a combination of finding different ways to do things for myself or asking for help from other people, whether that's a stranger, a friend, or a family member. And I think from the outside looking in, a lot of people think the hardest part about supporting yourself as a disabled person is the finding ways to do things yourself and struggling with doing things yourself. But what I personally have found more difficult is the relying on people for help. And so that's what inspired this short film. So honestly, I would say like the best supports for teens and young adults transitioning to independent living is, trying to be like the best friend or like support system that you can be for the disabled person, and that can honestly be as simple as saying to your friend or family member with a disability, like, just know that you're not bothering me if you ask me for help. Like, know that you're never inconveniencing me, and like assuring them that if for some reason you can't help them, like, you'll let them know, like, I'm sorry, I have an appointment or a class or work and I can't make that work today. And just, I think that really helps a lot, like just hearing it from the person that you rely on, that you're not a burden, like, I will be there for you. And if for some reason I can't be, like, I will tell you, and it has nothing to do with you. Because honestly, that is what I struggled with the most, is relying on friends a lot for help, because like it has been difficult relying on my mom for help in some ways, but she's my mom, and like I know that she will do anything for me. So it's different than relying on friends who like won't do anything for you, because it's a different relationship. And there's less like obligation there, and so there's more guilt that can be put on the disabled person.
Definitely.
Well, I agree that the pressing button is amazing. But as someone who writes and speaks about disability as much as you do, what stories or truths did you feel were missing from the conversation out there? And how do you work to shift the focus from, quote, inspiring to talking about real access and real solutions?
I would say I've noticed that when disability is talked about, which it rarely is, but when it is, it's either or. It's either this person is so inspiring and their life is so amazing, look at all the amazing things they can do, they're a hero, blah, blah, blah. Or it's this person's life sucks and this is miserable and I would never want to live this way, and how sad, and like they need to be cured, like type of narrative. And they're both very harmful for different reasons, some overlapping. And there's never a holistic view of the disability experience, or there rarely is. And that's one reason why I wanted to create my short film, was because I was having a lot of, honestly, like conflicting feelings about my disability, or just complex feelings. And so that's what I try to do, like with my social media content, like on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and in my writing, and whenever I do like a podcast like this, I want to share the challenges that I face because of my disability, and be open about that, and sit with those and allow myself to be annoyed and frustrated, but also let people know that that doesn't mean that I like don't like want to be disabled, that like, I'm comfortable this way now because it's been most of my life. So I don't know much different anymore. And it's informed so much of who I am. I would be a completely different person in ways I wouldn't even know if this hadn't happened to me. So I think that there should be space held for both, like, just because I might be really irritated or feel let down about relying on people for help, or feel annoyed that I can't like just throw my hair up into a bun or a braid and go on with my day. That doesn't mean that I'm not grateful for all the things that my disability has taught me, all the friends it's given me, all the experiences I've had. So that's what I want to show. And I feel like a lot of disabled feel that way too. Like, we shouldn't reduce human beings, no matter who they are, to like one specific story or one experience, because we're so complex. Like, we have complex emotions and feelings and experiences. So nobody, no matter who they are, should be reduced to just like one story.
Absolutely.
Disability is an aspect of you, but it's not you. I mean,
Exactly.
we all have the same, wants and needs and fears, and it's a shame when that's what society does, is just sort of forget that all that exists and just, here you are, you have a disability, we're going to put you in this corner.
Yeah, you're just that one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a little person, so I have a lot of explaining with. My life is not like the Little Women of LA. My life is not like Little People, Big Worlds. It's very different. In your consulting and modeling work, what is a practical design fix or adjustment you wish every brand or business would adopt to maybe boost independence or comfort for the user?
So many things. So something that comes to mind instantly is thinking about shoes. Shoes are one of the most difficult clothing items for me personally. And I love fashion. I love clothing. My parents are in the fashion business and have been since I was a baby. So I was kind of like raised to love clothing. And I really don't like the look of most slip-on shoes. It's just like, I don't know, not the look for me. And I can't tie shoes because of my disability. But I really like how sneakers with laces look. Like, that's just the look that I like. And I have been wearing every day, I was wearing them earlier today, my Kizik sneakers. They're a brand that created these sneakers that are hands-free. So you can just like put your foot in and they're on and you can slide them off really easily, but they have laces. So you get like the best of both worlds. Like they have the look that I want and I can put them on and take them off. So thinking about things like that, I think Kizik shows that, they're not compromising on style, like at all. Like they have a really cute look. They have different styles too. So you can find something that you like, but they're accessible and they understand that marketing too. And so that just is something that comes to mind, thinking about like not compromising on style for access. That's definitely possible. And for some reason, a lot of clothing brands I see that are trying to be accessible, they compromise on style.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. There's no reason to do that. I mean, a lot of them might be geared towards elderly people. I've noticed that, but elderly people might like to be stylish too. My grandma was one of the most stylish people I knew. So that, like, I think that's also just a concept of like ageism coming in there too. But not compromising on style for the sake of accessibility.
Selena Gomez has lupus, and she was talking in another podcast about arthritis in her hands, and she was developing her makeup line, and by accident it's very easily accessible and people with low dexterity in their hands, and it just led her into each thing that she created to keep that in mind. And I really love that about that line.
Me too. It's like my favorite makeup brand because the makeup itself is good too.
Absolutely. It's just a bonus.
Yes.
And I'm just nodding my head because I unfortunately have no idea. But sure, I agree. Whatever you guys say. Yeah. But I love that. I love that there's more and more, and I think social media has a lot to do with that too, and the fact that like people can speak about these things, and you can have a celebrity who is, we've had celebrities in the past that do fashion and makeup and all that, of course, but now that we have celebrities with disability and they're on social media and everything is, oh, hey, they're just regular people and so on. I don't know. I feel like it's a good, if we can talk a lot of bad about social media, but I think one of the great things about social media is that, we do open up a world of possibilities and awarenesses. I mean, that's what everything's about here, right? Is using social media for awareness.
Absolutely.
But as far as like products and things like that, I think it helps to, it's far from perfect, but it's nice to see when like some of this stuff starts coming into fruition, like makeup that's easier to use for someone with low dexterity and so on. And I don't know that would have happened, let's say, 15 or more years ago before.
Absolutely.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Because it's just now happening too.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and speaking of social media, you've clearly built a strong following on TikTok. So, what do creators and organizations need to know to make their content accessible and respectful for disabled viewers beyond just like the basics like captions?
hmm I am all about social media accessibility, and the difficult thing
Sweet.
with it is that the platforms kind of limit what you can actually
Yeah.
do because of just the way they're built or the features they
Mhm.
have or don't have.
Yeah.
But what I try to do for my content personally is caption everything that has audio, whether that's a video on TikTok, a reel on Instagram, a short or a long form video on
Mhm.
YouTube, an Instagram story. I caption everything. And that is the basic things. I feel like most people are familiar with captions because my generation is actually like liking captions, whether they have a disability or
Yeah.
not. I've noticed it's a common thing. So I do that. That's like very basic. And then I always try to put a video description or an image description for photos on all of my posts. So
Mhm.
this is for blind or low vision people so that they can use their screen reader to have it read out loud to them so that they have context of what the image or the video is.
Mhm.
So
Right.
for my videos on TikTok, I put it in the caption below what my actual caption is. And I always keep it pretty basic and focused on the most important parts of the video.
Mhm.
So it usually just briefly describes like what I look like if I'm in the video, which I usually am.
Mhm.
And any text boxes that might be on the screen, I put those in text
Mm.
because they wouldn't be able to see those
Right.
necessarily. So I always do that. And then for my hashtags or any usernames or links, I capitalize the first letter of every word. And that's called camel
Mm.
case.
Camel. Yep.
Um, so I usually do like hashtag disability TikTok and hashtag disability awareness. So I capitalize disability in TikTok and
Mhm.
then disability and awareness so that it's easier for everyone to read for one thing.
Yeah.
For sure.
But that's also so screen readers can read them accurately.
Yep.
So those are like the main things that I do to make sure my content's accessible. If for some reason there's ever like a flashing light or some type of effect, I also put a warning.
Mhm.
I try not to use stuff like that, but I would maybe put a warning on videos like that just for people with photosensitivity. Um, and then sometimes in my videos, I actually try to describe like what I'm wearing if it's applicable.
Mhm.
Um,
Mm.
or like if I have a screenshot behind me of something, like if I can like try to read the text on it, things like that. Um, so those are all those basic things that I try to do. And I try to do that because my followers, a lot of them have disabilities,
Mhm.
and there are a
Of
lot
course.
that
Yeah.
don't too, but a lot of them do. And I want to like practice what I preach. Like I feel like I cannot be asking places or people to be accessible to me if I'm not doing that for other people.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh,
Absolutely.
it's a beautiful approach.
Mm-hmm.
So, for people designing products, we touched on that a little bit, services and spaces. What are your top 3 simple steps for making things accessible right away? And what's one common mistake you see that they leave behind?
Ooh, accessible right away. I mean, okay, I'll start with the second part of that question first
Okay.
because I feel like it's something that I don't see talked about. A lot of the time there will be a quote unquote accessible product, but it's impossible to open the packaging that it was shipped in.
Mhm.
So like
Oh,
if I
right. Yeah.
order something online, like I don't know, just some accessible makeup. I'm no example specifically, but if I order an accessible makeup online and it comes in some bag or box that's super impossible to
Yeah.
open.
Mhm.
This happens all the time
Yeah.
with
Mhm.
PR I receive. Like brands will send me things. So, for example, like might get some makeup from not an accessible makeup brand,
Mhm.
but the makeup itself might be easy to open, but the way they've packaged it is ridiculous and then makes it
Mhm.
impossible for me to access. So just thinking about the packaging, not on the actual product, like the bag it's in, the box it's
Mhm.
in, whatever PR it's sent in, that's super important. So that's something I see missed.
Mhm.
Top 3 things that could be done, right?
Yeah.
Um, I mean, the main thing for me is ease of accessing the product as a whole. Like, for example, if it's a foundation, like a makeup foundation, I need to be able to open it.
Mhm.
So being able to open the product if it's a makeup. If it's, I feel like makeup's just an easy example for this. So if it's a makeup, being able to open it, being able to actually get the product out, like, you know, how hard is it to squeeze?
Yeah.
Because I've seen some products that I'm like, this is impossible. Like, even sometimes I try to squeeze with my legs, which have pretty good strength, and it's difficult. So actually getting the product out like that, and then just ease of use. Like, so somebody might be able to open it or actually like get it out, but like, how easy is it to actually apply with like a brush or a beauty blender or something like that? So that's what I would say. Just makeup's a good example.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, and I feel like there's so many things that this makes me think about things like universal design and that sort of thing, where like, you know, it helps everybody, like in a sense. You know, I think packaging is a great example. And as you're saying that, I think of the, you know, there's like a meme of someone buying scissors and they're in a pack that they can't open because they need scissors, you know. But it's like it's kind of that like that forward thinking about, you know, so it's not a disability specific thing, but it's just that idea of like not really considering, like the needs. Yeah.
And it makes it less fun for me to like, sometimes I'm super excited about something I order, and then it comes and I can't open the box that it was shipped in or the bag it was shipped in. And then once I get that open, if it's clothing, for example, and it's in a bag, like sometimes I can't open the bag and I'm like, well, this stinks, because sometimes I have to wait till someone is around to help. And I'm like, oh, I've been so excited to open this. And then I'm less excited.
It's a big letdown.
I've even found the problem with like opening chip bags. They've gotten even harder. They're like glued so tight and you
they're so frustrating. I always cut them, and then that's annoying because then they're harder to keep, you know, not stale.
Yes, absolutely.
Now I want chips. Okay. Anyway.
Sorry, Keith.
No, we're good. We're good. We're good. It's close to lunchtime when we're recording, so it's just for context. Well, so we do a segment on our show called Deep Cut, and what we do is we talk about some piece of media, a book, a song, a film that we feel sort of relates or connects to the content of the episode. And so we also like to ask our guests if there's any book or film, show, song, again, any kind of media, it could be a video game, it could be anything, that you would recommend to listeners who want to better understand access, or even just something that just stands out for you, something that you just feel like you connect with and you'd like to share.
A book immediately comes to mind. My friend Jessica Slice, she went to Davidson College, which is where I went to college before me. And we connected while I was there, because she's an alum. And she has a disability herself, and she is a mom of 2 children. And she recently released a book called Unfit Parent. And it was incredible. I learned so much about her as my friend from reading it, and just about being a disabled parent and the challenges that come from that are not necessarily from her disability, but more so from how people view her as a parent and her capabilities as a parent. And as someone who's 23, almost 24, I'm not ready for kids right now, but I would love to be a mom in the future. And it really was great. Like, just to read that, like, I feel like I have so much knowledge that is important for me to have, like, to be able to advocate for myself as a hopefully future mom. So that comes to mind, her book, Unfit Parent. I purchased my copy from Amazon, so I know it's on Amazon. But definitely recommend her book. And she has other books, other writing. She's very prolific. I read her other book, Dateable. I was actually featured in that. She and her co-author, Caroline Cupp, they interviewed a lot of different disabled people for that book. That came out last year, and it was about dating as a disabled person, and that was really good read too, especially as a young woman. So those 2 books come to mind.
Those are great.
Awesome.
Great recommendation.
Wonderful. Yeah. Very cool. Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, Sarah Todd, this has been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us, and of course your story.
Thank you.
Yeah, we really appreciate you.
Thank you. I loved this conversation. Great questions, like very thought-provoking questions as well. So I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure meeting you. I've been watching you on TikTok. It's nice to actually have a conversation with you.
Yes,
indeed.
yes. Thanks so
Yes,
much for
indeed.
supporting me too.
We're not done yet. This week's Deep Cut is next.
This week's Deep Cut is Catwalk, from Glada Hudik to New York, a 2020 Swedish documentary that follows a group of models with intellectual disabilities as they set out to achieve their dream of walking the runway at New York Fashion Week. Released at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, the film offered something the world was missing: genuine joy, connection, and hope, without relying on tired inspiration cliches.
What sets Catwalk apart is its focus on respect, teamwork, facing your fears, and the brilliance of the cast, showing that everyone deserves to shine without labels or limits. Today, we'll break down what the film gets right, where it opens doors, and what it means for representation and access.
So how did your expectations going in compare to your feelings by the end? Did the film avoid the inspiration trap or fall into it at any point?
Okay, going in, being honest, I was really braced for this, inspirational treatment.
Me too.
This
Me too.
glossy, feel good documentary that, flattens the people into this, I'm disabled but courageous,
Right.
and something sappy. But I was totally surprised in the best way. It had heart. I don't think it overreached. And it kind of stayed grounded in their everyday lives. That's what I liked the most about it. We got little segments of each person, what their life is like, a little bit of their backstory, their quirks, their friendships, and even awkward and funny moments that had nothing to do with disability or anything. It was just real reactions. So I felt like it really avoided that inspiration trap, because it didn't try to convince you that these models were extraordinary because they were disabled. What was extraordinary about them is their drive and their dreams and their willingness to do what it takes to, make them come true. Even with Emma's first step of contacting Par about this whole thing, it took her drive to do that. I want this dream and I'm going to do what it takes to make it happen. And by the end, I didn't feel like inspired. I felt connected to them, with my own dreams and fears and wanting to be heard and seen. So they were doing things on their own terms. And I think a lot of people like to do that, but aren't always successful at it. So seeing them do that was wonderful.
Yeah, I agree. When it first began, like the first few minutes, I felt the same way. I was like, oh no, I don't know that I'm going to enjoy this. I feel like this is going to go the wrong way. But it quickly righted itself. And I couldn't even put my finger on exactly what it was. At least not at this point. If I went back and rewatched, I probably could. But after seeing the whole thing and having a very different feeling by the end, I couldn't even tell you what it was. But just the first couple minutes, there was something that made me kind of pause and think, oh, it's going to be, again, like inspiration tropes and that trap. But it really turned out not to be. And it became something so much better. So yeah, for sure.
So were the models' own stories and perspectives, did you feel like it was the heart of the film? Was there a balance between their experience and maybe that of Par and the people that were helping, like the designers that were helping with the show? Did you feel a balance with that?
I felt that there was a pretty good balance. I mean, I do feel like, the stories of the models were, the focus. But I am glad that we got to see a lot of the behind the scenes work that was done to help. And so and I think that's part of what made it feel just more like a documentary about here's what we're trying to accomplish versus, the inspiration trope that could have been otherwise. So I think that actually, it's good that they kept a balance. I think that's part of why it didn't come across that way. But the model stories were they were the heart, of the film for sure. But I was glad to see a lot of other aspects of that. It was really nice that we saw Emma's dad and their interaction, and he kind of pops up, here and there, and I thought that was really sweet. So yeah, but I do feel like we got a look into the eyes of the models and saw things from their perspective. It was really powerful content, and behind the scenes stuff, the personal interviews, it all added to it, and I thought it was a very well made documentary style film.
Mm-hmm. I like the moments where like the choreographer, Emma had a moment where she was worried about spinning because of her epilepsy, and the way the choreographer, instead of like, oh, you'll be fine, just this placating, forcing type of thing, she came up with we'll reach for apples, and just reach around the room for these apples. And Emma did it, and then she was like, do you know what you just did? And Emma's like, no, you spun in a circle. What you feared, you just did. And you did it on your own, and you did it without even consciously thinking about it. And it was little moments like that kind of they peppered throughout, that I really just, I loved, because it was not necessarily about her disability. It was about, the facing of fears and doing it on her own, that I liked about it.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. It's a great example, and then a good point about facing fears. I think among the different models, everyone kind of had a different fear level. Everyone looked at it very differently, and it's again it's complexity. I mean, we're all different. Like you could box everyone together and say, oh, these are people with intellectual disabilities, and they're going to all be scared or this or that. No, that's not true at all. Were some a little scared and nervous at times? Absolutely. I would be if you told me to do this and be, go to a catwalk and whatever. I mean, so of course, nervousness is normal, but there was a range of emotion. There was everyone had ups and downs. Some people came into it with a different perspective. Some were like, really like, what? I can't do this. And others were just kind of like out there, like right off the bat, just strutting, just like, I'm owning this catwalk. And it was awesome. I loved all that. So yeah, I think you got to see that broad perspective, and everyone was a little different. It was just it was great storytelling.
Yep. I agree.
So did teamwork and community come through as a key to their journey?
Yes, that's one thing I liked about it. They didn't just tell a story. There were these moments of teamwork that I don't know if Parr put into the whole process of doing this, but it was, we're gonna do this together, then we're gonna do this together, we're gonna do that together. It was, like this growth plan that kind of went into what they were doing. It wasn't just, okay, we're going to put these clothes on and we're going to go do a catwalk because that's what you want to do. It was, what can we all gain from this experience and this journey? One of the scenes that really stuck with me was Ida and the dog sledding scene. She was scared to death. I mean, it was palpable, and it was so raw. And I was just crying the whole time because I could feel her fear. And it broke my heart to watch her, but she pushed through it. And everyone around her, they didn't force her, but it was this, you're safe. We have you. We're here with you. You can do this. And that to me was courage. That she didn't just say, nope, I'm not doing this. She was like, I am falling apart here, but I'm going for it. And then she's laughing, through the first few minutes of this sled ride. And it just, the joy that she felt overcoming that fear, being on this dog sled. I would, and then I'm joy crying, and, so it was such a beautiful moment for me. And there were so many moments like that throughout the film, where they would just take someone's hand or wrap their arm around them. And it wasn't I'm going to fix this. It was, I'm here. You can do this. It's okay. And that's what made that whole journey that they went on, this collective, not this each individual story. They were a team. It was about this team. It was about these people coming together. And I just love that so much.
I totally agree. It's a great example, and I do love at the end of that where I think I'm sure I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but she says, "Par, I'm not afraid anymore," and she just has this big grin, and like you said, she's like cry laughing and just loving it. I was just it was so touching, and it wasn't even it was kind of a short scene, but it packed a lot. I mean, it's so much happened in that scene that really set a stage for future things to come in the movie. It was really great.
Definitely. Has the film sparked new conversations for you, or new thoughts for you about what authentic inclusion looks like?
Yeah, I think so. I think what they did was very authentic. I think well, first of all, yes, they were modeling and they had outfits and they learned how to walk the catwalk, but there was more to it. There was an underlying theme to the show about overcoming the oppressiveness that many people with disabilities historically have faced. And so it almost became, I thought of it more of like an art piece, like a performance art piece, than just a fashion show experience, and so, they theme it, about how like this is another step to sort of overcoming and a step to awareness for some people who may not be aware of the oppression that many people in the world still, like, they make a specific mention to how there are many countries that this sort of oppressiveness is still very much real.
Yeah.
Like I don't mean like beyond insults and strange looks, like,
Yes.
like being in, an institution where you don't see light, like really horrible, dark things still are happening in this world. And so it was to bring that up. So I felt like, this, authentic inclusion. I mean, this is something very unique to the world of people with disabilities, and they built it into this show. And so they sent a really strong message at the same time of, having a lot of fun and making this, presenting the show for people.
One of the things that I noticed, you mentioned it becoming an art piece, and they still put fashion into all of it. I don't know if you noticed in the beginning when they were talking about Ida starting the show in the straitjacket, and they brought a straitjacket and she put an actual straitjacket on. They were talking about it. But then in the show, the straitjacket, it wasn't the same one. It was actually a fashion piece where her hands went into two pockets. It had the string, it had the tie up in the back. It was still very straitjacket, but it had grown into a fashion piece, which it was those little details that it was professional. It was this beautiful piece, and it wasn't just kind of this throwaway, well, yes, again, we'll just do this little fashion show because they want to do this little fashion show, and we'll just it went from they were expected to be in their hometown to now they're in New York City, and this is this real show and this real audience and these real this real thing that they created together as a team, and it was amazing.
Yeah. Well, what were some of your other what was another favorite moment of yours from the film, and why?
My absolute favorite moment, and I actually let out a sound when I saw it, was when Emma and Par were on the rooftop in New York, and they're just kind of having this conversation, and it's quiet and a simple moment, but she looks at Par and she says, "Tomorrow the town is ours." And
yes, yeah.
Oh, that was such a beautiful moment, because it was her kind of staking her claim. It wasn't like this inspiring, big moment. It was this little quiet moment where she was reflecting about the confidence that she's gained, the mutual respect between her and Par. And it wasn't like this coach talking to a student or the director to a model. It was two people sharing pride in what they created as equal individuals. And it flips, for me, it flipped the stereotype that you have to ask to be included. She's declaring, I belong. I belong on the runway. I belong in this city. I belong in the spotlight. And that just summed up for me the movie as a whole, that you step into it, claim it, and share it with the people that got you there.
Yeah, that was a very beautiful moment. I agree. That was wonderful. One that jumped out in my head is a very quick one. I'll add something else to it, but when they're on they don't really show much about the traveling of who's going to physically be there, other than the models and Par, and then of course later you see that the crew is there too. But Emma's on the runway, and then they cut to her dad, and I was like, oh, her dad's there. Like, that made me literally go, oh gosh, so as I have two daughters, and so just, I don't know, it was just kind of like, that's what always gets me when I see father daughter stuff like that. And so he made the trip, he was there, they didn't ever allude to that he's going at all, and then suddenly there he is. So that was a very oh my gosh moment. But there's some really good behind the scenes moments that have nothing to do with the planning of the event itself, of the modeling and the show. But there's a scene where Par is just having dinner. He's making dinner with one of the models, and I can't remember his name, but it's just the two of them. And I don't know, the nature of their relationship, but it seems as if they've known each other for a while, and they're cooking dinner together. And there's just this real, just genuine conversation between the two of them. And it was just, I don't know. I just was watching and thinking, just, I don't know. It was just so real. It was just real. Yeah. And it stuck in my head afterwards. And I don't have a lot of notes on it or much to say, other than it just stuck with me. It just was very real. And I think it just goes more to the credit of the quality of the film and how well it was made. It just little things like that. I mean, they're making dinner together, but there was just I don't know, something about it really, really stuck.
And what I loved about his relationship is he wasn't this director. He was doing a lot of things behind the scenes, and he made a lot of things happen. Yeah. But it was a collaboration amongst all the people. It was a collaboration amongst the models and the designers. They sat there and talked about the designs and what they wanted to see in the designs. They talked about the choreography and what they wanted the choreography to be. So it was such a collaboration, as opposed to these people helping these people, which I love. Usually you don't see that dynamic. So
it was a real partnership. Nothing was forced on anybody. It was everyone's voices were heard, and they really worked together to make what was really a beautiful show.
Yes. I'd like to see more of that happening.
Me too. Well, you mentioned that real quick, and before we close, I wanted to mention that when I was searching for the movie on my TV, apparently there's also a series that was made. Look about the same time. The series seems like each episode focuses on one of the models. And so there's an Emma episode, and there's a so on, and they're about 20 minutes each. The total runtime of the I can't remember if it's 5 or 6 episodes. I guess it's 6 episodes, because they're about 20 minutes each, and it adds about 2 hours. Well, the movie's about an hour and a half. Yeah. So I'm not sure if it's all new footage or if it's a lot of overlap. I haven't seen it yet, but it's a way to go. I'm curious to go back and watch those at some point and learn a little more about the backstory of each individual model. And I think the 6th one may be Par himself, because there's 5 models.
Oh,
right?
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the 6th one might be about Par. So I want to go back and watch that. But anyway, mentioning it for viewers and listeners here, if they end up watching the movie, there's that sort of companion piece to it as well.
Fantastic. I'm excited to go back and to look at it.
Yeah.
Catwalk from Glada Hudik to New York is more than a feel-good story. It's a powerful reminder that every person deserves to be seen, heard, and celebrated on their own terms.
If you've seen the film or want to share your thoughts, send us a message or tag us on social media. We're always looking for more stories to feature and discuss through the lens of disability, creativity, and access.
Thanks for listening to our Deep Cut. That's it for this episode of Disability Deep Dive. A big thank you to Sarah Todd Hammer for sharing her insight and experience with us.
Sarah Todd reminds us that real access means more than applause. It's about agency, autonomy, and making space for every person in every part of life.
If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who cares about access.
And you can find Sarah Todd's books, her film Pressing Buttons, and her latest work at sarahtoddhammer.com and on social media.
Thanks for listening, and see you next time. Disability Deep Dive is a podcast that is brought to you by Disability Rights Florida, where real conversations about life, culture, and ideas meet the lived disability experience. Follow us on YouTube, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us at disabilityrightsflorida.org/podcast.